It's Alex Youngblood. I've got Brian Haskins here with me. How you doing, man?
Good. How's it going?
Good. So we're going to be talking about why your direct mail campaigns are not working. And that seems to be a kind of a hot topic right now for people. You know, a lot of people are like down on direct mail. Oh, direct mail doesn't work, or I don't know what to do. I'm not getting the response rate that I want. There's a lot of people that are down on direct mail, and I'm going to start this call off by saying that direct mail is definitely not dead. It's one of those things that you can do, and you could generate leads consistently if you set it up consistently, right? But we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Let's give some time for some people to come on. I see some people on right now. So if you're on the call, just say hello, wave, or tell us what market you're in so we can see who's out there. So let's see. Or I'm going to look at my phone. Okay, here's some more people coming on and stuff. So wave, say hello, and we'll try to give you the best content that we can here on this call now. Don't be shy. Okay, there we go. We got Steve in Fresno, California. We got Colorado buying in Vegas. Looks like Cleveland, if that's what CLE is. I believe it is. So, all right. So let's talk about this here. So the first reason why direct mail doesn't work, and if you've ever, let me say this. So we went out to, my acquisitions manager went out to somebody's house yesterday, right? And it was a lead that we actually got from cold calling. But after meeting with the seller and looking around the house and all that stuff, we went back to his kitchen table, and guess what there was? There was a stack. Probably a stack of like 20 postcards, like literally a Rolodex, right, of people that this guy could call. So obviously we're the first ones out to the house, and this guy has not called all these other people yet, because that's what he's told us. But there is a lot of competition there that he didn't even call because he's got a stack of postcards like that. So you got to be careful, because when you approach direct mail, you cannot target a list with a lot of competition if you have a small budget, right? So a lot of competition is a reason why your direct mail is not working. So, Brian, from a standpoint of competition, what lists would you say have really high competition, and why that would be an effect?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like anybody that's new, that's getting into the business, the first thing they do is they go out and they start to do the research, blogs, podcasts, all these different things out there. They're teaching a lot of the same list that we've used for years, over and over and over again. So anytime that it's a common or very easy marketing strategy you get a hold of, a lot of times those are going to be things that are super competitive. So I'll give you some examples. So for example, if you're new to the business, one of the things that you probably hear a lot about are going to be like absentee owner leads and, something like that. Now, that's not necessarily a bad lead source, but it's something that is very, very saturated, not only by new investors, but it's also by very experienced investors that have been doing it for years, that have huge budgets. Obviously, anything that you can get online, like, so if you order lists through maybe a list, salesperson, whether it's something like, vacant properties or just lists like that, a lot of times anything that's really easy to get a hold of, those are going to be the ones that are super, super competitive.
Yeah. I mean, and that kind of ties into our next point of why your direct mail campaign may not be working, right? Is because you are not using enough pieces. You're not throwing enough pieces out there, right? So people may be using a small budget on a big list, right? So if you're using a ginormous list like absentee or equity list or whatever it is, and you're coming out there with a small budget of like, $500, and you're sending out like 100, I don't know, 1,000 postcards even, is really not enough to do a dent in those kind of lists, right?
Yeah. So I have a good example with that, because I've gone through this with hundreds, probably thousands of different people that I've talked to over the years that say, direct mail doesn't work. People tell me that all the time. I've been in this business for over 15 years. So have you. The most common marketing strategy that I've done throughout the years to create consistent leads is definitely direct mail. So I know that it works, but the problem is just the mindset with a lot of people that say direct mail doesn't work. Number one, yeah, it could be the list, but like you just said, it could also be the amount of people that you're targeting to. So here's a really good example of what I tell people. So let's say that you target an entire county. We'll just use absentee owners as an example. Let's say that in your area, you're in a smaller area, and let's just say that there are 20,000 absentee owners, okay? And you're working with a budget of 500. So let's just say that you have about 1,000 postcards, okay? So if there's a list of 20,000 absentee owners in your area and you're only able to target 1,000 of them at a time, the chance of you being able to find the right person at the right time with that budget is going to be near impossible. I mean, so there's lots of different things you can do to really narrow it down. But if you stop to actually think about the numbers, so you have a list of 20,000, you have 1,000 that you can send out every single month. The chances of you being able to find maybe, out of that, the people that have enough equity to be able to sell, but then even on top of that, the people that want to sell, and then the people that are willing to give up that equity, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So
it really is. Yeah. And that's one of the things we do with our students in our implementation program, right? Right out the gate, we try to find the list in their area that's going to have the highest probability of somebody selling, right? And that comes back to building your own list in a strategic fashion. And in fact, on our first one-on-one call with our students, that is what we do. We actually go in and work with them and build a list that's going to have a really high probability of somebody selling, right? And that's not something that is the same for every single person, right? So that's a highly customized thing that we focus on with each one of our students. So if you want to burn yourself out really, really fast with a small budget, just blow out an absentee list where the probability of somebody selling is very, very low, and you're competing with people with really big budgets. You're trying to market with the efficiency of like a Coca-Cola sized budget with somebody with a very limited funds, and that's really a way to get blown out very, very quickly. You need to find the highest probability type lists if you're going to start out with a small budget, and then you can scale it out, right? Which is awesome. Once you find that highest probability list that's going to work for you, then you can scale it. And part of that is doing the property avatar, right? So the property avatar is when we come into somebody's market, wherever it is, anywhere in the country, and we look at existing data, we hack into the existing data, and we can then turn around and build a list of sellers that have the highest probability of being a deal. You really got to cut out all the waste as fast as possible, because those are really going to bog you down when it comes to your marketing expenses and stuff like that. So direct mail is something that definitely works, but you have to make sure that you are doing it correctly, and strategy goes into it.
Another good example too is I'll just give you some real world examples. So we do this every single day with our students, just like Alex mentioned. The thing for us is we want to eliminate anybody that doesn't fit into our property avatar. And in many cases, we'll go from a list that maybe might start with a couple 100,000 people, and we'll narrow it down from a few 100,000 to maybe anywhere from 1,000 to about 3,000 potential motivated sellers. That's how specific we'll start with. And we may even narrow it down even from there, depending upon the budget. But that is really what you need to consider whenever you're doing direct mail. If you're targeting a large area and you have a small budget, you're just really kind of setting yourself up for failure. And you really need to niche it down as small as possible and narrow it down. There's a few different ways to do it, obviously, but that's kind of the extremes that you need to go to if you're going to be doing direct mail on a really limited budget.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, right, when it comes to the pieces, if you are just trying to send out a small amount of pieces, what I say is that you should be targeting, and you've got urgency on your side to where you're like, oh man, I need to get a deal or the world's going to blow up or whatever it is. you need to be targeting the lists that have the same urgency as you do. Find people that have the same urgency, whether that's some kind of and here's how they have some kind of a timeline that's running against them. You ever talk to a seller and they're like, well, I'm not really in a rush, but I'll sell, if the opportunity is right, or make me an offer, and if it sounds good, then I'll go ahead and do it, right? So if that's the case, you need to work with people that have a timeline and urgency, right? So some of that might be pre-foreclosure, tax, delinquent. What's some other?
Another great thing too is layering in multiple points of motivation.
Oh, absolutely. Layering in, what if you had somebody, and we call it, multiple points of motivation, right? There's that motivation combination is what we call it. And actually with our students, that's one of the things we do too. I had a program developed that will go in, and if you upload multiple lists to it, it will spit out the names that are on those lists multiple times. So now you'll know if somebody has equity, you'll know if they're vacant, you'll know if it's tax delinquent, or even code violation. You can mix those all together, and now you'll have an ultra targeted list. So that's something that we let our students use too.
Exactly. You look at it, you're like, well, what would be more motivated? Someone that is, that just has a vacant property, or someone that is a vacant property that is also in, tax delinquent and pre-foreclosure and has equity? It's like, which one would be more motivated? Obviously this person over here. And plus you're narrowing that list down even more. So that's something that would, if you were to maybe hit all 4 of those lists, it might cost you significantly more money. But if you can layer those together, that's another way to really cut your cost down too.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the really awesome things too. Once you do that and you have a list like that, you can like hit those things one at a time. You can almost treat it like, a salesperson who's got a list of leads, right? And then sit there and skip trace them individually, or bulk skip trace them, or however you want to do it. And you can call those people up, send them a mailer, and you can really attack it that way too. So list layering is one of the ways that you can really cut down on that budget and find people that are ready to go. So does anybody have any questions so far about what we're talking about? Because we've got some other points that we want to get to with regards to why your direct mail campaigns may not be working, right? So number one, we've got a list with you could be mailing lists that have too much competition and you've got too small a budget. Number two, it could be that you're not sending the right amount of pieces, or your expectations are not lined up in that situation. And number three comes down to follow-up, right? And I've actually got another point that we're going to talk about here in a second, but it comes down to follow-up. So you can be generating leads, right? And people are like, oh, I don't have any, everybody's just saying they want to sell, and everybody wants full price, whatever it is, right? And people just write it off right off the bat. And they're just like, you know what? This doesn't work. Everybody's saying they want full price, and I've got no deals. This doesn't work. I'm going to go back to getting a job, right? But what you fail to realize is the value in that database that you're building, right? So we've been really scaling the cold calling side of things, and I'm getting leads out the yin yang with it, right? I've got cold callers going, and they're generating 5-10 leads a day each one. And we've got, 4 or 5 of them doing it, and the leads are coming in. Boom, 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 boom. And we're running through them. And what we find out, guess what? The same exact thing. People are wanting to sell if they get the right price, if they've got equity, or they want to get top price for it. But what you can fail to realize is that we're building a database of people that are saying, yes, they want to eventually sell. So the follow-up is truly, truly key when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And one thing to point out as well with follow-up, and the reason why it works so well, is because most people won't do it. Most people don't have the capability to, to think ahead, number one, or maybe they're just not as organized to where maybe they don't have some sort of system in place that they can use for follow-up. There's lots of different reasons why, but if you do things that your competition won't do, or if you take those extra steps, those are going to be the things that are going to be able to separate you from your competition. And that's why follow-up really works so well, is because a lot of people just focus on the direct mail or just focus on the cold calling. And then if someone says, I'm not ready yet, they give up on them. Whereas if you can put some sort of follow-up system in place, and there's a million different things you can do, but if you can do that, that's going to really set you up for that long game. Because there's a huge amount of people that you talk to that you're not going to be able to buy that property the first time you speak with them. But maybe 2 or 3 or 4 different messages down the road from you, they might be ready to sell. You just never know. It's all about finding that specific time that they're motivated enough to that want to sell.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the follow-up, the fortune is in the follow-up, as they say, right? And that is absolutely so key. And if you understand this business correctly, when somebody calls in and says they want to sell, right, that's just the first step. That's not the end all be all. You really have to process that lead correctly and handle it correctly. And follow-up is definitely one of those things that's going to turn that list into money. So before I get to the fourth point of why your direct mail campaigns aren't working, we want to tell you obviously we've been hinting about our implementation program and talking about what we do with our students and everything. But one of those things that we do with our students right off the bat is dial in their marketing so that their direct mail is not something that does work for them. We want the direct mail to work for them, and we want it to work along with their budget. So we've got a program. If you didn't know about it, it's called the REI Accelerator Program, our implementation program, in which we help you where you're at, whether that's budget, experience, whatever it is, and identify that so then we can help you get to where you're. So that all comes down to being a customized, intensive program in which on day one, we get on the phone with you individually and build that list of what's going to work for you in your market. And not only at that point do we just say, okay, here's your list, go ahead and mark it and do this. We follow up with you on weekly phone calls in which you get on the phone with us in a group setting, and we go over a weekly scorecard of where you are marketing and then evaluating of how things are going, and then make adjustments from there. Maybe we need to tweak the email, the direct mail list a little bit more, or maybe we need to look at implementing some cold calling. There's so many different things and so many moving parts to this and we help you every step of that process and getting it going. So if it's something that you're more about, you can schedule a strategy session with us. Brian's going to implement or is going to put that link in there, and you can schedule a call. I know over the last few days, we've had a whole bunch of phone calls, so we're trying to get through it. So if you schedule a call and you notice, it's a few days out, be patient with us. We'll get to you. Just schedule a call and pick a time slot, and we'll talk to you and see if it's something that's a fit for you. So yeah, Brian put that link in there. So do you guys have any questions about what we covered about why direct mail may not be working for you, or anything that we spoke about? Go ahead and post that there. I know, Brian, you've been watching some of the comments there. Or questions. Do any of those stick out to you?
Yeah, we had, let's see. Matt says that he's been having some really good luck with door knocking.
Yeah.
Similar to direct mail with door knocking. It all comes down to the list, targeting the right people. You don't want to just go into a neighborhood and start door knocking. Unless you're just looking for practice. Yeah. It's a great way to waste some time, though. Obviously you still want to try to narrow down, find multiple points of motivation. Maybe it's a vacant property. Maybe it's, something else. But yeah, door knocking is definitely something you can do. Let's see here. Steve says he's got a very small budget. How would he go about finding the correct list for him? Well, he didn't disclose what his budget is, but we already kind of covered that a little bit, obviously.
Narrowing that down to the avatar, and then also points of urgency. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can make any budget for the most part work with direct mail. Obviously, if you have a really small budget, you're going to have to maybe target even down to maybe just a neighborhood or two. You can really laser focus in, but depending on what your budget is, there's definitely different things you can do.
Yeah.
Those are all the questions so far. Okay, so Steve says he has about 500 a month that he's looking to invest.
It's not horrible. I would definitely, with a budget like that, I would look at really niching down and really systematizing on the lists that you're doing, or you can look at getting some cold calling type stuff set up. And you know, a lot of people are nervous, right, about cold calling and finding people to do it for them and all that kind of thing. One thing that I just told our students actually on our last training call was I've actually have a setup to where you can plug into the call center that I have pretty much set up in the Philippines right now, and we can find people that can start cold calling for you right away based on your needs or whatever budget you have and type and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that we're doing with our students that they're really excited about. So if cold calling is something you want to do, that's part of our program as well. We can definitely work with you along those along those lines. Other things
too, to kind of tap into that a little bit. So one of the things that we do offer as well for our students is we have lots of partnerships with other programs out there and different lists. For example, with ListSource, our students actually get a significant discount. I was talking with a student the other day that just purchased a list through ListSource, and he was spending, I believe it was a little over, I think, $2,000 for a list. He was paying, I think, about 15 cents per lead. And after he joined our program, we purchased a new list for him, and we were able to get him 3-cent leads through ListSource. So we do get significant discounts. So it was only a couple $100 compared to what he spent. And then also, we talked a lot about, skip tracing a little bit. We talked about that. So we also have partnerships with people with skip tracing. So there's a lot of other, discounts and opportunities that we have for our students that help you out when it comes to direct mail to keep the costs way down. We did have a couple other questions come in. Shelby wants to know how she can find a tax delinquent list in her area, which it seems to be different in pretty much every area.
You just got to go to your county and ask for it. And if you ask for it once and somebody says, no, I don't have that, go back again and find somebody else. It's public information. They have to give it to you.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Matt wants to know, are we coaches or mentors?
Yeah, you could definitely call us a coach or a mentor. I would say the people in our program would say that. I mean, it's not a program that's really based on it's not like a course that people buy. Although the information that we have, the online training information that people can that log into online, is something that's worth quite a bit from all the different angles that we approach it from and the step-by-step process that we give you. But our students would definitely say that we're coaches and mentors, because part of it is they can hit us on Voxer if they have a question. And
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is too, is what we focus on with our particular program, it's an implementation program. So our focus is on taking action. We set very specific goals for you based on what your needs are. So we work together with you to kind of determine, if you have an income goal, if there's a certain amount of deals you're trying to do, we put together a specific plan to help you reach those goals. So each week we have very specific goals for you as far as how much marketing you're going to be doing. It's all based around your specific budget. So for us, it's more about implementing and making sure that you're taking action and seeing the results that you want, rather than just, coaching or mentoring. For us, it's all about implementation and then helping you make sure that you're accountable and that you're hitting the goals that you want. That's really kind of what we focus on in our program, in addition to obviously teaching you. But for us, it's all about taking action and implementation.
Yeah, I mean, and also from a coaching and mentoring standpoint. So one of our students has a deal that's closing tomorrow. He has the deal for $160,000, and I believe he's selling it for like $225 or some kind of number like that. And guess what? I'm going to be funding the deal for him, so that way he can do the double close. And those are some of the things that we do with our students as well. So now he's in a process where he doesn't have to worry about getting the money to do the double close on this deal, because he didn't want to assign it, because it's going to be like a $50,000 deal. That's just one of those benefits too. And, I get random messages from our students, just asking simple questions. And the cool thing about it is it comes right to my cell phone using the Voxer app. And somebody just says, "Hey, Alex, what do you think about this?" Or, "Hey, Alex, I'm struggling with this." Or, "What do you think about this?" And I simply just beep them back and tell them exactly, what I would do. So it really is, a coaching type mentoring thing, but without the really crazy hefty price tag of some of those different programs out there. And just like we said, with the different price points that we can offer and the different services and things like that, really, it really pays for itself in a very short amount of time. So, let's see. Any other questions? The cost of becoming a student. I can't say who said that, but the cost of becoming a student is based on, really, we have a few different programs along those lines. So it really depends on your experience and what you're trying to do and how intensive you want the program to be. So that's something where I would recommend you schedule a call and we can break that down for you. So that way we can give you the different ways or the different facets to each one of those programs. It wouldn't do it justice if I just threw out a price on that there. So schedule a call and we'll talk to you about it, find out where you're at in your business and see which one will fit for you. But it's definitely not something that is prohibitive, especially if, you talk about the students like I was just mentioning, who's doing a $50,000 deal. I mean, I think he's paid for it way many times. He's getting the value out of it. Who said the problem is finding someone to teach you how to do the property avatar without paying an arm and a leg for it? Well, yeah, we're definitely not charging people an arm and a leg for our program and help you do exactly that. Who said get a parcel numbers from the county website and get a scraping program for a Fiverr? Who said that?
I don't see that question.
It's a statement. I think it's the top one. But yeah, that's a really good way of doing that. Get the parcel numbers from the county and then get somebody from Fiverr to create a scraper that can do that. That's something you can definitely do. We have a recommendation for our students as well for somebody who can build something like that for you very easily like that. The thing with Fiverr is you got to be careful, right? Because they'll say, "Oh yeah, I can build you that." But then they send you over some weird kind of code thing and there's no like interface for you to input things. And it just becomes a nightmare for you if you're not careful. But we've got a reliable source that can develop programs like that for you really cheap. And it may not be $5, but it's going to do what you want it to do. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, "I like list layering." Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a really good way to do it. Okay. So another reason why, and actually could be the number one reason why your direct mail isn't working, is because of you. Not you, Brian Haskins, but you. Point the finger at yourself, right? We can generate leads and opportunities or show you how to generate leads and opportunities. But if you can't close those deals, that just comes right back to you. Point the finger at yourself. Part of our program as well is, it was on our last call. I think I spent probably a half hour on a particular lead with a student, going back and looking at the house and looking at the different ways of trying to figure out how we can make money on it and all that kind of thing, right? But if you don't know how to do and process those leads and talk to those sellers and make those offers, you can generate all the leads in the world that you want, right? But it comes back to you not being able to close them or turn this deal into money. And really, that is the bottom line. If you can't figure out a way to do that, you're really going to blow your marketing, whether it's direct mail, whether it's cold calling, whether it's online leads, whatever it is, or consistency, like somebody just said there. You're really going to be in a tough spot. So if you're going to invest in marketing and you're going to invest in doing those things, you really need to invest in yourself as well. And that is our program, our implementation program. I was actually texting with one of our other students last night. He's done direct mail. He's done some cold calling and stuff like that, but he's implemented some things. And he said, hey, Alex, I've got, let's see here. I'm going to look here. It was actually late last night. I was putting the kids to bed, and he had messaged me because he said he was going to be close to the area. But he says he's got 3 closings, and he's got one for 10, one for 9,000, and one for 5,000. And get this, these are all done from free marketing methods. Some things that he learned and implemented from our program. He may have known how to do some of these things beforehand, but we helped him implement them in a way that was systematic and consistent to get to those numbers. So, that's $25,000 from free marketing methods that we helped him implement. So just those little tweaks, those little things that you do just a little bit differently can really be the difference between somebody that's going to succeed or fail in this business.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. Lots of people aren't consistent. Yeah, I see that there. Do you have any other comments, Brian, while we're waiting for some?
Matt says he's been having good luck with pocket listings for realtors, and he wants to know if we think the real estate market is going to crash.
If I had a crystal ball, right, I would be a go-zillionaire, as Forrest Gump used to say. Right. A go-zillionaire.
Pocket listings, it's not really what we're talking about today, but if you're willing to put the time and effort into building relationships with realtors, it's just one avenue that you can use. Let's see. Steve says that he paid for a list of properties that owe taxes at his county office. He got a CD that had a bunch of numbers and letters. They all ran together. He couldn't understand what any of it meant on the CD. Yeah. So this could mean a lot of things. It could be, like we talked about earlier, parcel numbers. It could mean, depending on how they list out the property, a lot of times it's going to not necessarily be an address. So this is going to be something that you'll have to cross-reference. This is very common when it comes to tax delinquents. I get the same type of situation for mine. And then you basically have to figure out what it is. And then I hired a virtual assistant to kind of analyze it. But I also had a program built that kind of scraped the information for me. That's another thing, like Alex mentioned earlier. We do have a company that we work with that can build out scrapers for you to help kind of make sense of this. But once, obviously you figure out what the information is, then you can put together a way to kind of pull it apart. But I'm assuming it's either parcel numbers or depending on, like, in the tax records, how the information is listed out. It's hard to really say unless you see it. But
yeah, and I will say something about the market crash, right? So interestingly enough, we saw an interest rate hike just recently. So with the interest rate going up, that's obviously going to make it where you've got to make a little bit more money to get that same type of house, right? So I'm definitely keeping my eye on that. I do a lot of new construction and some development type stuff. And I am treading lightly and not trying to get myself bogged down with a bunch of that. So here's the thing too, right? If we are flipping properties, right? If we're flipping properties, we have to make sure that when we're in it at the right value, right? And a lot of this, when we're wholesaling, we're simply just flipping that value over. It's not something that we're investing in the long term, right? So if the market crashes and you're wholesaling and you're simply flipping paper, it's really not a problem. In fact, it's going to get rid of a lot of competitors to where, here's the thing too. I got started full-time, wholesaling houses full-time, obviously, which is the name of the group, right? Wholesaling houses full-time in 2008. That was like what the peak of the crash, if you want to say it that way. Everything went to pot, and guess what? I still made it happen. In fact, that's when I started making my full-time living in wholesaling, was during that time. So we really don't have to worry about that if we're flipping and we are simply just getting in on value, locking that value up and selling it. It just depends on where that value is. If the market goes here, well, then you adjust here and then you sell here. It's with wholesaling, you're really in a good position. If you're buying and holding, something to definitely watch out for If you're buying to rehab, definitely something to watch out for. And if you're doing new construction, definitely something to watch out for, because what goes down first when the market starts to recede? New construction, right? So you got to watch out for that. Last crash, it went at 6.5%. Were you talking about the interest rate was 6.5%?
Yeah, it must have been 6.5%.
Somebody asked what pocket listings are. So pocket listings are simply a listing that a realtor has in their back pocket and hasn't listed on the open market yet. That's essentially what a pocket listing is. Response rate for direct mail campaigns. Yes, that definitely does vary. I'm seeing, I would say about 1% or even almost a little bit past 0.5% is what direct mail is coming back at. But we've had some students where they've gotten even 2 and 3%. So it really just depends on your market and making sure you're targeting the right list. Because again, if you're targeting a big list, like an equity list, and you're doing it with a very small budget, your response rate is really going to be in the toilet. But it's better than doing nothing, right? But if you're going to invest in marketing, invest in that type of stuff, make sure you invest in yourself so that you know that you're setting yourself up to have better luck with that type of thing. All right. Any other questions with regards to direct mail, why it may not be working, and what you can do better? And again, go ahead and schedule a call if you're interested in learning about our implementation program. All right. I don't know if I'm seeing anything here. Holy smokes. We've been like 40 minutes on this thing. Very good. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. So good to talk to you guys. Good to be with Brian, and really great to give you guys some of the best information that we possibly can. If you're interested in our implementation program, check it out. The link is below, reiaccelerator.com/mentor. Schedule a call today. See if it's a fit. If not, put it on your calendar. We try to do these calls Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So just make it a habit to show up. We'll give you the best information we can. We'll answer questions as we can. And we will see you guys later.
See ya.